Welcome back to Dawn's Dirt. And Dawn's Dirt can include a little bit of everything. And so today I'm very happy to have Tirzah with Barter Pay. That's her company that she's working with right now and doing her own thing. And I love it. And the reason I love Barter Pay is because it's outside of the box. It doesn't necessarily fit within this nice little, I pay you money, you get your goods or service or whatever it is. It's thinking a little different and thinking outside of the conventional box that we have normally had in our society. So welcome here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doc. I appreciate it. And I call it
Yeah.
the money box, thinking outside the money box that we do.
Oh, I love that. Thinking outside the money box. Well, and that's who I am. I don't like fitting inside a box. I don't like doing anything inside of a box. And so yeah, that sounds so perfect. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So as Don said, I'm Tirzah. I am a franchise owner and barter coach with Barter Pay. So a little bit of background. I actually started my own swapping and trading company called Swapify. It launched August 30th of 2023. Spent 2 years building it, built an app, just launched it, and about 2 months later, the founder of Barter Pay saw what I was doing. They're based out of Ontario, Canada. I'm in Alberta, and he was wanting to expand into Alberta. They didn't have huge presence here yet.
Yeah.
And he saw what I was doing and asked if I wanted to collaborate. So very, very long story short, I ultimately traded my entire company for a portion of his, and we're now working together. So it has been the best decision I've ever made. I am very thankful I made it. It was for sure challenging to begin with because, we spent 2 years building this. It just launched. Do I actually want to give it up? But they have been in business for about 27 years or so. They are well established. They have all the kinks worked out. And John, the founder, always says that they were way too early to market. Like no one really cared about bartering before COVID hit. And then that happened and everyone's like, oh my gosh, we need an alternative. We need something else. Businesses were shutting down. All this was happening and people, like, the world shut down, but people still had their goods and services to offer. And
Right.
so they were looking for alternatives. So bartering really blew up in the last few years. So he's like, I feel like Noah building the ark. I've been building it and building it. People thought I was crazy. Now everyone understands why we need it. And so it is an amazing time for Barter Pay, for thinking outside the money box, and for businesses to be just having a tool to utilize. It's just a tool in your toolbox. So
For sure. I love that. And for me, outside the box, because going back to COVID, I had a farm then, right? And so I had people coming up to me and they were honest to goodness worried about, do you have food? Yeah, I've got food, right? And you looked at the toilet paper wars and the shortages and things like that. And so people were worried about if you didn't have the little QR code, how are you going to get your goods and services? So this barter pay doesn't fit within that system. It fits outside of that system. So again, I hope we're wrong, but doomsday prepping, this fits into that system. Or am I out to lunch here?
no, you're not out to lunch. And so basically I'll explain how Barter Pay works so that people understand it better. So
Yeah.
ultimately, when people think of trading, they always think of a one-to-one trade. Like you have food, you have fruits and vegetables, your neighbor has eggs, you trade with each other, and often that can work out perfectly. And that's how our country was founded, on trading. So often, though, people will come to me and they're like, well, I don't want stuff. I don't want random things. How do I know that I want what they're going to offer me? So to get around that, the company created barter credits. So one barter credit is equivalent to $1 Canadian. And so if you, let's say you charge $5 for a bag of carrots off of your farm, it's now 5 barter credits. So
Right.
by replacing, like giving it a value within the system, it just makes it easier to barter. So for example, I've gotten pigs on Barter Pay. I literally purchased pigs on Barter Pay and a dog, and I don't know how to feed all these different things. But the beauty of it is I didn't have to offer the farmer something for the pig,
Right.
how to find something that he actually wanted. I didn't have to for my barter credits. Yes, they take them, they earn them, then they spend them
Yeah.
with someone else. So rather than a one-to-one trade, it's essentially like a one-to-many sharing economy. And
Yeah.
it's so much better. So to date, I think the company's done about 500 million in barter credit transactions. We're really, really just getting started. So
Yeah.
all of that to say,
Yeah.
if like you said, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if the world shuts down tomorrow, if cash disappeared, you
Yeah.
still have your skills. People, the next business still has their product on their shelf that is still has value. So if
Yeah.
cash disappeared, we can still use barter and
Yeah.
the barter credits because we
Yeah.
made them up and it can still function. So honestly, like it's
And
incredible. Really just futuristic, but in an old-fashioned way, if that makes sense.
oh, it's totally going backwards, but maybe that's where we need to go as society. And what I love about it most, actually, and I'm part of your program too, is what I love about it most is that you can get what you need. Because I had it a lot of times at a farmer's market where people would say, "Oh, do you want to trade with me?" And they would have something that I didn't necessarily want, but I had what they wanted. They wanted the food. And so it wasn't, sometimes I traded out of like, oh, I feel bad or, but I didn't need what they were offering. And so it wasn't necessarily a fair trade. But with your system, it's always a fair trade because if I don't, I can choose what I need and they can choose what they need. And it's all within this, system that everyone's getting what they need and no one's giving up what they don't want to
Yeah.
give up or trade for.
Yeah, 100%. And I've done the same. And like at one point, I had this offer that I really wanted to promote, and decided to trade so I could get some things, and then get some notice, I guess, like advertise this program.
Mm,
And I took stuff I didn't want or ever use. And that's
yeah.
the downside of trading. And I think some people have a bad taste in their mouth about it because my biggest, what is it? There's the word I'm looking for. When people
Sure.
rebuttal, basically, with my biggest downside to the initial conversation is like, oh, but I don't want random stuff. And when I talk to a business owner, but I'm like, no, actually, that's not how it works. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Like it
Yeah.
makes it more simpler.
Yeah. And so with barter pay, you're facilitating the middle ground between all of the trading. You're not necessarily A and B are not necessarily trading directly. A is trading with the middle, B is trading with the middle and going from there. What a beautiful program. Yeah. So what inspired you to get involved with barter pay and you've started your own company. So what inspired that? I think you touched on it, but can you elaborate on that when you started your own little company there?
Yeah, you betcha. So basically, I grew up in a family business called Bentley Cycle and Trading Post, based out of Bentley, and my dad traded and bartered all the time. It was just how we lived. He loved trading, and he had bicycles, and knives, and just one of everything pretty much in the store, and people would come in
Yeah.
and out from trades, and he loved it. So
Yeah.
we grew up doing that, and I often joke that my brothers and I didn't share with each other. We just traded our toys back and forth. And it would eventually be hard to like figure out like, hey, who's actually owning this toy this week? 'Cause we traded it so many times. Anyways, we just did that our whole lives. So fast forward to my adulthood, I became a paramedic, and that's where I met my husband. He's also a paramedic. And in the midst of being on mat leave with my second son and all of the COVID nonsense,
Craziness. Yeah.
all the COVID nonsense happening, I was like, shift work isn't working very well for me. By wearing the uniform, I was feeling very disingenuous to my values because as soon as people see you in a uniform, they assume where you're at with things. And I wasn't in agreement of people being forced to do things they don't want to do. If you want to take the shots, go at it. If you don't, then that's your choice. And so I didn't agree with that, but people would see me in uniform and automatically think, oh, okay.
You agreed with everything. Yeah.
So it didn't fit for my life anymore, my values, and I started looking into what else I could do. Had a couple of ideas. The bartering thing seemed like the best one, and it did come out of a need of my own because when I was on mat leave, I really wanted to get my hair done, and that's not cheap for women. They pay a lot of money to
Right.
get things done, and I couldn't justify spending the money. So I hadn't traded in a while. I was like, you know what? Why don't I just ask my hairdresser if she wants baking? And that's kind of my main currency, is what I would call it, is baking.
Yeah.
So he did agree to do a trade, and from that, it just kind of spurred the idea of I want it to be simpler for people to trade, where you don't have to walk into that salon and have that awkward conversation of, hope you don't mind me asking, maybe would you be willing to take cupcakes instead of money? Like, it's a really awkward conversation for a polite Canadian to have. And
Right.
so I wanted to offer like a really easy to use platform.
Yeah.
So I built this thing. I built this app. It was an incredibly long journey. I learned so much and I grew so much and became who I am now and became the person that was, you know, someone that's attracted to the company. Like Barter Pay is a freaking huge company. They're the largest bartering company in Canada. And if I wouldn't have gone through all of those growing pains to become who I am now, I'm sure I wouldn't have attracted them. But anyway, so it was all for a reason.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
What a,
that's kind of where it started.
what a great story. And that's the thing. And that, again, jumping back to, I mean, what would have happened if you would have gone to your hairdresser and she said, actually, I'm gluten free and I don't want baking, or I'm off sugar, or I'm off whatever, then you couldn't have made that deal. Whereas, with your platform and doing what you've done, you're able to make that trade. And also just commenting on your dad's business, like, wow, that is a very cool business where anybody could just walk in off the street and trade and swap and,
Yeah.
you know,
I was always open to it.
that's amazing. And he made a living doing it. I think that's really cool. So he must have sold things out of his store as well.
Yeah, he did sell, but it was buy, sell, trade was his slogan. And so he would do any and all of it. There's actually a really cool story. So he was featured when I was a little kid. He was featured on CTV News. At one point, they had this program where they were going around tiny little towns and finding these really unique businesses. And it was a town of like 1,000 people. And he was literally known across Canada for his customer service. People would come from across Canada to buy a bicycle from him. And it was amazing. He's passed away now. He died about a year ago. And he was asked by the reporter, what's the strangest thing you've ever taken on trade? And he just grinned and he's like, probably a pig. And so he literally took a pig and paid for a bicycle. And so the cool part of like just how life kind of comes full circle, just a month ago, I got a pig on Barter Pay. So I have taken a pig on trade, just like my dad, to feed my family. And that's fed his family. And this is how I'm feeding my family. And
Yeah.
it's pretty neat. So
Man, that story just even gives me goosebumps, that it started with a pig and it's going with a pig and it's what you needed, and what a legacy your dad is, really. Like that's so beautiful and so special. Yeah, cool. So okay, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe we can touch on it a bit more. How does the barter system with Barter Pay differ from like any other traditional, like, do you know of any other platforms that is like this, or how does it, I guess we've touched on like the baking thing, but is there any other ways that it's different from other traditional barter platforms?
yeah, so there's a few different things. So there's people have like Facebook groups that are for trading. And again, what I found with those, I actually managed one of them. Someone gave me their trading groups. They saw I was managing a company that was bartering, and they're like, hey, do you want my Facebook trading group? But they don't find a lot of connections, honestly. And people are like, hey, I'm a hairdresser and I really want this and this and this and this. But to find someone in your area, like, it's very complicated. So there's that. And then as far as other companies, there are some. There is one in Calgary. I'm sure they're a lovely company, but they have some very different, a few different fundamental financial pieces. Like, obviously, we get paid to do what we do. I get paid as a barter coach. And the way Barter Pay is set up is you don't pay unless it's working for you. Whereas a lot of other companies, they pay kind of on both sides of the fence, which I can explain in a second.
Yeah.
The other thing is it's not Canada wide. So we are across Canada. We're launching, I believe, next year in the US. We have the only online barter mall. So any business that has a product that can be shipped across Canada, we can put it in the barter mall. You literally get to do your online shopping, pay in barter credits, and then get it shipped anywhere in Canada. So
Yeah.
again, when people are like, I've got businesses that have skincare, that have any kind of products that can be shipped, and they're brand new and they want to just grow
Yeah.
and get their faces out there, we can do that through barter. So next time your friends are over and they're like, hey, where did you get those
Yeah.
brands? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I want Barter Pay. Well, now that person's gonna be a cash paying client, and so it's just
Yeah.
back into the cash system. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So
See, and I just want to put a little plug in here for myself. So my online coaching program is on Barter Pay and available through Barter Pay. And you and I have been having conversations about my hats, no farmers, no food. And, here, I'll just, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm someone's shot of whiskey because I'm a little outside the box. Or if you've seen my beef shirt or any one of my shirts, so they'll be available on Barter Pay as well. So yeah, check it out, and we can barter for things rather than pay for things because it's outside the current money system. So I love it. So you just touched earlier, you said you were going to elaborate on it, and I forget what it was. What were you
So
going
it
to?
was about how we get paid, essentially.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
as much as Barter Pay is a very tech company, it's a very human-based company as well. And there's no level of, hey, you're a business owner, here's a website, go barter. Just because business owners don't have time for that. Like I've yet to meet a business owner that has time to learn a new system, actually spend time bartering and filling their spare capacity
yeah,
with barter. So my
yeah.
goal as a barter coach is number one, to promote your business and grow your business within Barter Pay while you continue to focus on the cash flow. The second part of my job is to help you spend your barter credits. So the reason for that is I don't want someone having a balance of barter credits and saying, oh, there's nothing I want. Well, if that happens to be the case, which doesn't often happen, then give me your wish list. Tell me what you want, and I'm going to go and find it. Or in the process of all of the people I talk to, like, hey, do you happen to know a landscaper? I've got a client, a member that needs a landscaper, and then I'm going to bring them on Barter Pay. And so helping you get what you want from the system and helping it work for you. The big thing I missed that I'll touch on briefly is we really focus on businesses that have spare capacity. And almost all, but most businesses have some level of spare capacity at some point in the year. So
What does spare capacity mean for our listeners?
yeah. So the way I always explain it is a massage therapist that wants 10 clients per week. If she's only getting 6, we are not trying to take away from her 6 cash paying clients. We're trying to fill in the gap of the 4 she's not getting. So
Right.
the service-based business, her time expires. That if she didn't work all the hours she wanted to work yesterday, well, now it's gone and she can't ever get that back. So you might as well bank it in your Barter Pay account, and then you're going to need something you need in the future. For a product-based business, spare capacity is an item that's going to expire, whether it's food or a seasonal product, anything that you need off your shelves. Like we've got companies like PV Mart and Red Deer are on Barter Pay, and they have stock that just won't sell. Like, it's just old stock or out of season, whatever, won't move off the shelves, but they need that space on the shelf for a new product. And so they've offered it on Barter Pay, gain the barter credits, and then, the cycle continues. So,
Yeah.
I love spare.
I love it. Yeah. And actually, speaking to the coaching part of it, you're a barter coach, right? Is that my understanding? So with me, you know me and my technology skills, even to get on here was a little rough today. And so I need people to help me. And so you've been very helpful in basically helping me get all of my things on there. And it's been no stress for me, even though computers make me want to tear out my hair and cry. So yeah, that's been amazing. Perfect. Yeah. And then so let's talk about it. It doesn't mean that you have to own a big company, right? You can own something small. So if someone wanted to do some baking on the side or whatever it might, like baking, like you said, or for me, it could have been vegetables, or, if I had a few chickens with a few eggs, it could be anything, right? From small right up to big, correct?
Correct, yes. So I've got companies that are doing 3D printing kind of on the side. I've got people that make like knitted baskets. We've got PV Mart in Render, like I said, we've got dentists, we've got accountants, we've got pick anything. Pretty much any business is on Barter Pay, so it doesn't matter the size. You don't have to be a specific size. You just have to have something to sell, a service or a product, and you can be on Barter Pay.
And I love that because what it does is it allows for everyone to be an entrepreneur themselves. And so at whatever scale or capacity that you have. See, when I've spent a fair chunk of time down in Cuba, and it's a communist country, which I don't love. But what I do love about Cuba is the black market, and everyone in Cuba has a little side business or a little side gig going on, and that's how they survive. And with our economy the way it is, a lot of people are having to get extra jobs, side jobs, things like this. So this would be a great opportunity for someone to do a little business on the side without great input. And yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a huge component of like entrepreneurs, people doing their own thing. If it's meant for you, like I honestly think some people aren't meant to be entrepreneurs, but at the same
Fair
time,
statement.
like, you have to think outside the box. You have to be willing to, like, if you're working a 9 to 5 and feeling stuck, like I knew I would never be a paramedic the rest of my life. I was not meant to work for someone else. I was not meant to, yeah, it's just not for me. So
I understand that because I tried having my first job in 20 years and I basically got fired from it. And so the next job in 20 years is going a little rough too because I'm too much. So I cut you off there, but yeah, yeah,
that is exactly it. So some people are just meant to be entrepreneurs, and the beautiful thing about Barter Pay is it's like the thing that every entrepreneur needs, whether they're just starting or they're 15 years down the road. And the reason for that is one of the reasons is we actually offer interest-free barter credit loans. So we have businesses that are brand new startups, like I've got one right now. They are a cleaning company, just starting, fresh out of the gate. They've got business cards. They've got nothing else. They need a website. She needs her vehicle worked on. She needs, like, she gave me a laundry list. She needs pamphlets. She needs t-shirts. She needs all these things. So we can get them for her through Barter Pay, and then she can pay off the loan by cleaning houses, which means now she's getting new clients. She's gotten the product she needs. She hasn't put cash out of her pocket. It's amazingly beautiful. And now she's gotten all this exposure by these
yeah,
clients. Well, let's say she has a cleaning job through Barter Pay, and she shows up in her van that has her business name on the side. Well, the neighbors are going to see that.
yeah.
They're going to call her. I mean, like, this lady that paid on Barter Pay is now going to refer her to cash paying clients. So every once in a while, people are like, no, I need to make money. And actually, one of the partners in this company has said the same, like, we need to make money. I'm not working for nothing. I'm like, perfect. I don't want you to. But it's not about working for nothing. It's about,
No,
she's sitting at home not working right now, or she could be working doing cleaning jobs and then get referrals back into the cash world. So it's
absolutely.
one of the things, yeah.
Well, and the system too, like while she's quote unquote working for nothing, she's not because then she's got her credits and there's things that she would need as a human being that she can now go and purchase through Barter Pay because it just comes full circle, right? So it's not ever that you're working for nothing. It's just a completely separate and different system. So you're trying to it's thinking outside the money box, like you said, doing it differently. So yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Can you share a success story of where a business success or significantly benefited from using Barter Pay?
Well, let me pick one. I
Because you have many.
have many. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hear one or two. I love it.
So I officially started with Barter Pay in February of this year. So in like 6 months or whatever it is, there's a lot of my own. And then talking to the other barter coaches that have been doing this for like 10 or 15 years, like, blows my mind. But anyway, my personal one that I can tell you is we had a member in Calgary. So her name is Sarah Swain. She hosts these huge freedom events. She's all about like supporting business owners, people just kind of getting out of the system, etc. Totally up your alley. And she had this huge event in May, and she had about 400 people coming. And she's on Barter Pay. She reached out and said, you know what, I really need videography for my event. Do you have anyone? And we're like, no, we don't currently have anyone in the system. Let's see what we can do about that. And that's kind of where the second part of my job comes in, of finding what you need through the system. So you never are looking on the directory and saying, hey, you don't have what I want, and be dissatisfied. Like, we're going to do our best to find it. So
Yeah.
literally within 2 days, we found a videography company that was willing to do the job. And it was 3 days for an event, social media management, videography, live streaming, reels, like this huge package. And it ended up being in like around $30,000 worth of videography. So she didn't have that full amount in Barter Pay. So she sold tickets from her event that she had that were extra that she wasn't selling anyway, and then paid for the videography. She had a sponsorship package that hadn't sold. She sold that into Barter Pay and then paid for the videography. So now she turned her spare capacity that those tickets weren't selling anyway. She probably wouldn't have filled those seats. She wouldn't have sold that sponsorship. Now she turned it into the thing that she needed. So she saved thousands upon thousands of dollars by using Barter Pay. And then this new company that came on, the videography company, they earned all these barter credits. Now they're spending them on a lawyer for like just getting paperwork sorted out in their system. She's getting her house clean. She might be getting pigs. Like just
Yeah.
the sky is not even the limit.
It just all goes around and oh, I love it, right? And it's again, it's I can't say it enough. Like it's outside the system. It's outside of the box. Okay, so I'm going to play a little devil's advocate for a moment, though. What happens, and I just thought of this right off the hop, so I'm going to surprise you with this question. It's not following our questions here, but what happens if the power goes out and the internet goes down? Then what?
It is a great question.
Yeah, I just thought of it right now. I'm like, okay, what do we do?
Yeah. So what happens in that case? And I've honestly thought of this. Like I said earlier, if money disappears, we're fine. If power goes out, I think people will naturally, in any case, like, neighbors will have to come together, communities will have to come together to support each other. But because we've already created this hub of thousands of business owners that know each other and have been working with each other, they're naturally going to continue to do it anyway. So
Right.
if it did go out for an extended period of time, then people are going to come together, and we've already created a lot of connections where they're thinking that way anyway. So I think we like are 3 steps ahead of just, oh shoot, now I have to find a farmer to trade with, or I really need a babysitter. I don't know anyone. No, you already have a network of people that
Right.
want to trade. So
Right.
we're a step ahead in that way.
For sure. And I guess where that comes in too is the more people that we can get onto this parallel system, the more it just changes people's thought patterns and thoughts around money, physical money, into something different in society. And so, yeah, it's just, I like that. Yeah. Because I thought that too. During COVID, I had people come to me and they'd say, "You've got food, right?" "I've got food." "Yeah." And then they'd say, "Well, what do I do?" And I said, "Just come out to my farm. Honestly, I'll have food and we'll." And I was always kind of thinking, because again, I hope I'm wrong and I maybe nothing will ever happen, but if it ever did happen, I've always kind of thought, man, what could I trade? What could I barter? What could I? So I guess that would lead into my next question, food, right? So we've talked about pigs, but how does barter pay, um, can you tell me some thoughts around food and our food system and agriculture and things like that? How would barter pay play into that?
Well, the timing is interesting because I just brought on a lady that owns a company called the Mobile Garden, and she's based out of Calgary. She sources food from hundreds farmers, and she brings it to the general public so that you can be getting your food straight from the farmers. But she's the middleman,
Yeah.
and she just joined Barter Pay, and she is offering. I got a list that she's telling me. So it's like steaks, eggs, honey, beef tallow, sausage, all this kind of thing. So this is the first time I'll be honest, like this is the first time I've personally been able to find source food on Barter Pay. So I've got several people asking for that. They're like, well, honestly, what I really need is groceries. Can you get me groceries? I'm like, I'm working on it. Let's see what I can do.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, we're starting to get into that. I've got a restaurant on Barter Pay. Restaurants are one that's highly requested. So if anyone knows a restaurant owner, honestly, they work so well for Barter Pay because if they have empty seats in their restaurant at supper time, they're perfect for Barter Pay. Like you're losing money at that point. You might as well be capturing that and
Yeah.
getting new painting in your restaurant or menus or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it works like it's going back to our history of people used to barter all the time. We're just making it simpler. So the farmers, like I said, I've got pigs on Barter Pay. I got my dog on Barter Pay. This lady, she sells farming programs on like how to butcher pigs, how to grow pigs. Sort of what you do, but more in the animal realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're bringing those people in slowly. So it's coming.
Sure.
Yeah, and because like it's just going back to the fundamentals of what people actually need. Like they need heat, they need food, they need,
Yeah.
kind of getting to some basics. So it worked really well for that because,
Yeah.
if you have something to sell, it works on barter. Whether you're a farmer or you got food or whatever, you have a class
Yeah.
covered.
Exactly. Well, and because that's what I do is I'm coaching people now. I'm teaching people how to garden rather than selling vegetables. But I wish I would have met you 2 years ago because I had extra vegetables and I would have loved to put my extra vegetables on Barter Pay so that we could get that system going. That would have been really beneficial. Hindsight 2020, and you didn't know. I didn't even meet you then. But I love it, and my former business would have done it. I'm no longer allowed to sell, buy or grow and sell vegetables in the province of Alberta for 5 years because of my non-compete clause. But yeah. So, anyways, that's all right. It is what it is. Okay, so let's find another. Um, how? Oh, this is a good question. How do you ensure trust and accountability in the Barter Pay network? How do you vet your people, really? How do you know that what they have to offer is actually legitimate or someone's going to screw someone else? So,
Yeah, it's an amazing question. So what I love about how Barter Pay is set up is you can't even join without going through a barter coach and working directly with a barter coach. So you can't look at the website and join. If you do that, like they'll pair you up with a barter coach to have a conversation with you. And there is a lot of legwork and just time spent in getting to know the business owner and their product, what they're offering, all of that. So that's kind of like the first vetting process. And
yeah,
for myself personally, and I can't speak for the other barter coaches, but I have some people, not very many, thankfully, but some people that want to join Barter Pay, and I've kind of put them off because I'm not willing to promote their offer or their business. And my like criteria for my members is would I refer my mom to them? Like, am I gonna send my mom to that esthetician or sell your program to her? And if I'm not comfortable doing that, like knowing that she'll get the best care or the best product or service, I'm not like it's not worth it to me to bring them into my network. So for the other barter coaches, I don't know what their criteria is,
right.
but we are it's a pretty incredible network of people I've come across. I think one it was my personality, like not everyone gets along with everyone, but in general, the businesses on here are amazing. And it's such small, a small knit community
Yeah,
in that, like if you're a horrible person, people are gonna know because it's not like you've got 50,000 mechanics to choose from. You've got maybe,
right.
and
Yeah,
so you're gonna get referred to the best one. And so,
right.
so, it's, yeah.
So it's very relationship based because there is a coach, it's very relationship based. So the coach vets them first and it's about community and relationship and that's the way it should be. We've lost that with our big, corporation companies. Those are no longer community and relationship. It's, how can I give you the least amount of service and get the most money out of you? Like that's not cool. I'm so tired of it. That's not how I built my former farm. That's not how I don't think that's how business should be run, where you have to get it from this place or, yeah. So along those lines, vetting the people, what happens? Again, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate because I like to do that. What happens if, let's say, I went to go buy a pig from the farm and you vetted them, you thought they were fine, they didn't deliver, what then? Like, how does that work? Like after the fact.
Because it is a member base, there's very much the ability to kick someone out. Like, it's not like we do that all the time, but I mean, it's not like if you go and buy a pig from a random farmer, who are you going to tell if they don't deliver? Like, the
Right.
army? Like, who are you going to say that to? Well, because there's a company like this umbrella that everyone is under,
Yeah.
and you won't get your pig delivered, I can refund you your money. I can, we obviously work through it as best we can to try to like remedy the problem. But if
Yeah.
you're just refusing and saying, no, they didn't pay me, well, we can show that you were paid. And
Yeah.
if you won't deliver the pig, then I'm going to refund you and
Yeah.
probably not send them any more business. Next step is kick them out. So
Right.
there is that
So it,
option.
yeah, so it holds the ethics and values even higher because yeah, if you don't live within,
Yeah.
pardon?
Because there is a repercussion of if you aren't a decent human being and delivering, then there is someone to answer to, which is ultimately like the founder of the company. If it became that big of a problem, we would go higher and say like, hey, this is what's going on. We have done everything we can to resolve it. Nothing's working. It's a
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, so there is a level of accountability with being under an umbrella of a membership like Barter Pay, which is
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah. So just keeping people accountable if they do something wrong because it's a community. I love it. Um, so what advice would you give to business owners who are considering barter pay but unsure if it's right for them?
the best thing is dip your toe in the water, give it a try, and see if it works. Do one thing. So like we always say, start small. Walk before you run. I've got companies, they're like, hey, I want to offer like all this stuff. I'm like, no, let's start small first. Let's earn you some barter credits. Let's spend some barter credits. Let's complete a cycle of a trade. You've offered something, you've gotten something in return. Let's see
Yeah.
if you love it. Let's see if it works for you. If it doesn't, no hard feelings. Thank you for trying it. But you literally, like, it is so affordable to try it that you've spent more money on worse things. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And thinking is marketing. Like it comes out of your marketing budget because I'm advertising for you. I'm promoting you. It's a business write-off. So
Yeah.
give it a
Yeah.
try. And if it doesn't work, then thanks.
Well, and that's just it. We've been working together. You approached me, and we've been working together on this barter on your barter pay. And yeah, I really appreciate that you reached out to me and that you put me on in your system, and that there's so many things to purchase from, and just that full circle in the community. I think that's what I love about it so much. I love so much that it's not in the system, that it's outside of the system. It's not yeah, it's just different and doing things a different way. And I love that it's so community minded, that, you're meeting people and you're making relationship and you're making connections and things like that. And you've got small business right up to bigger business on there. And so everyone is able to work in the system together. And I just think it's such a great option and a great outside of the box option. So there's no bureaucracy to it really. Like, yeah, it's just simple. And that's what I feel like we need to get to back in society. Like with our current system, there's bureaucracy and there's rules and there's regulations, and then there's more rules and regulations just to make it, fit the old regulations and just to protect people from suing people and la 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 la. Oh, that brings me to another question. What about have you thought about the legalities of all this, or how does that work?
Yeah. So often the next question people have usually is like, well, how does taxes work? Like, what are the tax implications for this, etc. So I'll answer that just for your listeners that are thinking that themselves.
Yeah.
So as far as bartering is very frowned upon in Canada, it's not illegal, I don't believe, but it's frowned upon because then the government can't get their cut. So to get around that, obviously we've had to keep things very above board. We are helping businesses run their businesses. And so the best practice is that you create another column in your books and you track it as revenue, etc. I can't force you to do your books any certain way, but that's what we recommend. That's the correct answer.
That's the correct answer. Yeah.
So it's above board. We're not trying to get away with anything. Otherwise, I mean, we would have gotten shut down a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then however people choose to do their own books is their choice. So.
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, because like render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and so that's what you're saying is like you still, with it on that pig, the sale of that pig, if it would have been for money, there would have been money paid on that. And so even though you trade it, it still is sale of a quote unquote sale of a pig, even though it was a trade. And so there would be taxes on that. So yeah. Yeah. So you're not trying to go and pull a fast one on the government. It's still a system within a system.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just trying to, again, like ultimately help businesses fill their spare capacity. It's just a tool. It's a tool that every business should have. So
yeah. It's outside the box. Yeah. Okay. So any other thoughts just in closing here? Do you have any other thoughts or things you want to say about barter pay or about
I don't know if you want me to touch on basically how I make money because that's often people's question. I don't want to leave people with having questions from this. So basically I had mentioned it before. There's a couple different ways that we make money. There's a monthly membership fee of $25, which I always wait for the first 6 months for people. That way you can try it out. You try it out for make sure it's working for you. And then, if not, you're not locked in, you're not signing anything. Main way that I actually make money is solely based on a performance commission. So that was kind of what I was referring to a bit ago about other companies. So when I help you earn barter credits by advertising for you for all the legwork that goes into that, you don't pay me anything for that revenue stream. When you actually get value back from the system and you spend barter credits, then you pay a 12.5% commission in Canadian
Right.
dollars.
Yeah.
So I'll explain how that, like, the math works in a second. But
Yeah.
basically, there's other companies that are bartering companies, and you have to pay them when you earn and when you spend. And Earn Pay is set up so that you only pay when you're winning, when the cycle is complete, the trade is completed. So
I just have one thought to the $25. So I don't shop Costco because I'm not a Costco corporation fan. But how much is a Costco membership? I mean, it can't be that much more than Barter Pay. Like,
yeah.
so, and if you buy a Costco membership, it's the same kind of thing. So, yeah, fantastic. That's really actually quite inexpensive for the grand value that you can get out of it.
Honestly, and basically you are paying me to market for you every month. So if that's your marketing budget every month, it's $25. You are getting a sweet deal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's stupidly cheap.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the example I always give, just to make it make sense and simple, is when I bring a massage therapist one new client and they earn 100 barter credits, she doesn't pay me anything. When she spends 100 barter credits, say on a haircut, she's going to pay $12.5 for the haircut. So now it's cost her $12.5 plus an hour of her time that she wasn't booked anyway.
Yeah.
And rather than spending $100 out of her pocket for the haircut. So basically the math, and I wish I had a whiteboard, whatever your cost of goods is, so your restaurant, they're usually around 30% plus 12.5%, my commission is you're paying for whatever you get through barter pay.
Right.
So I've got businesses that their cost of goods is 10%, 20%, even 30%, even 40 or 50%. You're still saving a huge chunk of money by using barter pay. So ultimately that's
It's amazing, really. Like I'm all for it. When you approached me with my company here, I signed on pretty quick because I'm like, you can't go wrong. Like you just can't go wrong with it. So yeah, it's amazing.
You finish my spiel. You're like, where do I sign? Tell me where I sign.
Yeah, exactly. And I just I love that it's community based, that anyone can do it. Yeah, it starts off with a small business and you can grow it so big. So yeah, perfect. Well, any other thoughts just before we sign off here? So
I think one last one. So just one last thing as far as the financial aspect. Because we're like sort of newly launching in Alberta, what we've decided to offer, and I'll offer this to your viewers if they're interested, is when you're starting fresh with an account, we love it when you can start with credits in your account. And so, like I said, $1 is equivalent to one barter credit. And for the time being, there's a join fee, a membership fee to just an initial fee. Way too many times. There's an activate fee, and it's $200, and we actually give you back 500 barter credits. So for $200, you get $500 that you can literally spend the full value of 500 and go to the mechanic tomorrow, or go to the dentist, or get your house cleaned, like I said, or get your hair done. So you get a ton of value right up front, and you're starting with a balance in your account. So that offer will last probably a few more months, but I will offer that to your members. So, or like, if they're interested. So.
I love it. Okay, so they'll just have to reference the podcast here. So you heard that. Now, just before we close here, how do people find you? Can you tell us how our viewers and our listeners will find you? How do we find you?
So I am on Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram handle is bartercoach_Tirzah. If your brain is panicking, it's TIRZAH. And then otherwise, you can email me at tirzah@barterpay.ca. So TIRZAH@barterpay.ca.
I love it. I love it. And so, yeah, perfect. So reach out. Honestly, if you've ever thought of being a small business, or you've got a small business going, or you've got things that you want to move and buy and sell and trade, and if you want to do the system differently and join a community, a real community without the bureaucracy and bullshit, part of my language. So reach out to Tirzah. So I love it. So thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate you taking your time. Yeah, thanks so much. I'm happy with the program, and I would encourage anyone else that's listening to join your program as well. So
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Love it. We'll stick together as a community. Perfect.